Welcome, welcome. Give it another minute or so for everybody to hop on. While figure out how to station my camera. I gotta use my shoe.
Jess, you are showing up twice. I see you, and then
Oh yeah, I gotta turn it on. I connected to my phone first, but now I connected to my laptop because I keep on looking up because I got my big screen hooked up. So I'm doing stuff in the kitchen. I'm gonna walk away and see and hear you. So just
All right, great. So welcome everybody. Man, it's such a pain not having like my giant troubles. All right, so welcome everyone to another Wednesday morning ACIM call. On these calls, for anybody that is new watching, we use the principles and the teachings of A Course in Miracles to help us get through and shift our perspectives around challenges in our lives, right? So there's, and I was sharing last night with a friend that 90% of our challenges are revolved around, there's probably only about 10% of the population or problems out there that actually require some sort of therapy, right? That's like really deep traumas that's not really money related. But majority of everything else really comes from this, and we'll call it this money energy. Oh, my live isn't even working here. That's cool. All right, welcome everybody. Live IG. Sorry about the position of my camera. So this call, I've been doing this call for about 4 years now, and this year bringing it really into bring the conversation of God and faith into money. I mean, that conversation that we hear about that much, but I think it's just as important to talk about our faith and our spiritual practices when it comes to money. Because when we look at money as a spiritual, hey Peter, what's up? When we look at money as a spiritual thing, it is literally an exchange of energy. There's nothing more to money besides the fact that it's an exchange of energy, an exchange of thank you, appreciation, right? Like thank you for this, me for the service, and we exchange money. But we make so many more meanings to it. We attach our past stories, and we attach our failures and our successes, all these things attached to our definition of money today. And money becomes this heavy thing that is beyond like love or our faith, right? So I'm going to start today's call. Well, first I want to introduce Talia as my partner in crime here on this call. She has been she stepped up to co-host this, so there will probably be days in which she will run this call without me when I'm not here. But when we look at our lives and we look at the experiences and our ideas and our the money, says that all of our experiences begin with a thought, and our experiences change with our thoughts. So whether we're gonna bring our thoughts to a place of love or a place of fear, that is our practice on a daily. There is only one of two things that's happening. There is no simultaneously you're in the space of love or you're in the space of faith. Seeing love only, or you're conflicted and confused, which is really a cover up of the fear that is within inside. And you know, our opportunities when triggers and things come up for us, like things that we don't think we want. So let's say like an investment going wrong, a relate going wrong, going south. You know, it's all opportunities to forgive ourselves, and from that be able to attract miracles. Miracles come. The Course says miracles come when we shift our mindset and our place of fear, blame, shame, guilt to an open place, an open, loving, trusting, faithful place, which opens up doors. Because what to happen, God and the universe, or whatever you want to call it, knows, right? Like when a seed is planted in the ground, we're not like, you know, this flower's got to turn out this way, or whatever the plant is going to turn out this way. It just grows. It knows what it's going to do. So the love is always being blossomed. And the journey to the awareness and the recognition of love is also encompassed in love. But that journey sometimes looks like, I don't have enough money, I might not be able to pay my bills, I'm losing my job, or, you know, all the other stuff that comes up that journey. And we can either focus our attention on all the things that could possibly go wrong, all the devastations that's going to come if I don't pay these bills, or we can put our faith, this is the journey to something great. And whichever one we focus our attention on is the experience of life that we will have, which now is the only moment there is. The future is us. But now in this moment, it is up to us. It is up to us in where we put our faith. So this call, I want to just begin by talking about faith a little bit. You know, when we talk about faith, I've shared this sometimes on my past calls about when I lost everything. I lost my restaurant, I lost my car, I lost my house. And during that time, I remember it was really scary. You know, I moved down to Florida. I moved from New Jersey to Florida. Everything was really scary, and faith is, you know, I had faith that it was going to change for me. You know, or what's the alternative if we just focus on the problem the entire time? Now, I'm not saying that the problem doesn't exist here, but the miracle comes from us being able to see purpose and see love within the challenges and of the journey that we are on. And so faith isn't just a theological principle, it is really a mental and an emotional muscle. You know, a lot of times we think about faith and we just, faith is in God. Faith is a muscle that you have to train. You have to train it. And when you don't train it, you will lose it. You won't have the muscle. And so, you know, we can either focus on every moment, always there, right? We can either focus on, our faith is either in something's going to go wrong, or we can have faith in something's going to go right. But we tend to always give strength to the faith of disaster, of that things are going to go wrong, because we're afraid that it's going to go wrong. And because of that, we actually give more faith and more strength to the power of things will go wrong, which isn't the truth. The Course says that's not the truth. You've projected a fear into a space and you're literally living into it and manifesting it. It's easy to focus on the things that will go wrong, because we can find all sorts of stuff like that. Faith in things will go right, that this journey is part of your process of realizing and returning to love or yourself, requires attention to it. You are to tend to the garden of your mind. And it sometimes seems easier to have faith in all the doom, all that stuff that's going to happen, than in the recovery of something. Right? Like having faith is having faith is about being a visionary. Having faith is about being a visionary. It doesn't mean that you deny what's happening in the 3D world, but it's to be able to see beyond it. And it's the same thing when you practice looking beyond people's actions and people's words. We're using our spiritual sight rather than our physical sight to look at our brothers and situations. That we look beyond the actions, we look beyond the words to the light, to the innocence that's behind, to the God, to the spirit, to that intelligence. Hello, welcome. So basically it says that that I am experiencing a temporary experience of lack of love. Like you can shift your mind to start seeing things as part of this perfect love that is showing up in the world, and that you are part of it. All the stuff that might be happening in your life, it may be losing a job, it may be not being able to pay, it may be a DUI, whatever it is. It's part of the returning of your mind to perfection, to love. And so we're having temporary experiences of lack. So that's step one, is we're having temporary experience of a lack of election in this 3D world. But the Course says, since love is all it really is, and it encompasses everything, then ultimately what I think is happening really happening at all. That the creditors and people are calling, and the bills are need to be paid. All part of this 3D game that we're now on the spiritual side, on the holy side. There is that's just part of small distraction from being able to look at the truth, which is who we really are. Like, what role do we play in this loving world, in perfection? So if we come from that space in our mind, if we can free our mind to those miracles and those possibilities, then when I go to a real estate conference, I'm not there to try and get people to do something I want them to do. I'm not trying to network for my own gains. I'm now there to find the love that is in these relationships. How can I be of service to my brothers? How can to people here, so that I may reckon own greatness? See, in the service of others, we find our purpose. And all the wealthy people and all the very successful people that have broken free from the money game, it's about this. It's not about chasing the money. Don't chase the bad. Chase purpose. And through purpose, you will love what you do. You will feel like you're doing something that is meaningful and fulfilling. And money will show up as a result of it. And when you can put all those things together, and you're doing it all in perfect, then it's what, we did an exercise last night. It's what the Japanese calls ikigai. Where you're doing you're fulfilling something greater than yourself. You're doing it to monetize, and all of it comes together. But what we do is we decide that we need to sacrifice. We have to work jobs that we don't like. We have to do things we don't like. And what ends up happening is we have resentments about it. And then we have resentments about people. When we don't do things that we love to do and that we're passionate about doing, what we end up doing is we project it onto the people around us, especially the people that we say we love. Your kids, your family. Like, I've given up I've given up this stuff, like the relationship, the thing I want, because I'm working so that I can have money and to provide for the family. And when money doesn't show up, when money doesn't show up, now we have resentments about everything. We have resentment about that I'm doing this to provide or to sacrifice for you, and there's no appreciation here. Like that type of conversation starts to show up. Right? And so if we align ourselves to what is real, what is from love, what comes from a place of love and trust, then we start to do things every day that is aligned to that. I wrote down yesterday, the practice started with, what is something that you do that you lose track of time, right? So I started writing things down, doing these A Course in Miracle calls, playing video games, doing real estate. Like those are things that I lose track of time when I'm doing it. So there is it was cool to see that. And then the following question, I think, was if money was not an issue or wasn't part of it, what would you be doing? And it was still the same things. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. And money is evil. So I was able to recognize that everything that I'm doing, I would do with or without money. And that's why I feel like my life, like I'm in such fulfillment and I'm always in such flow all the time. And of course, things show up and I get to practice trusting and giving it over to God. Yes, that stuff still always happens. My wife and I still get into arguments and fights, but we don't. Oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, I do it on Zoom as well, and I do it live on IG. Yeah, and I practice giving it over all the time. Practice deepening my faith because it's a muscle. Like I said earlier, it's a muscle that we have to work on to see that. So, the journey to love. So the journey to love, isn't it also a part of love? I mean, this is what I left off before I tangent off into something else. Like to free our mind, if we want to free our mind and open our minds and open our life up to miracles showing up, we have to be able to look beyond what we think is happening right now. Right? I could be getting into an argument. I could have lost my job. I could have a bad investment going. Something could go in the direction that I don't want to go. I could have gotten to my relationship gone south, and I thought I loved this person, and then it went this way and that way. So all of that stuff is part of this journey, but it's not the journey with the capital, like, I don't know, T or J. It's not the journey. The journey is God telling us where we're going. There is we use the analogy all the time of floating on a river, that it's gonna, regardless if you struggle or you scream and you cry and you yell, the river is taking you in one direction. You can either do it with calm and trust and just enjoy it and have fun, or you can kick and scream and try and swim the other direction, but you're still going somewhere. Right? That's the journey. The journey is greater than you. As a collective, we're all going down the river in the same direction. And at the end of the river is heaven. We're all going there. Now, faith requires us to believe that to trust that everybody's going in that direction, regardless of what it looks like right now. So faith isn't just about knowing what love is, but it's also what is not love is not really there. And that takes practice, because we can easily say, oh, this is all just part of love. You know, like to bring positivity into our lives. And I shared this last night. I read from Marianne Williamson's book. To be positive, like we all know the power of positivity, and we all know the power of being negative. But positive isn't just about the absence of negativity. Being positive is to actively, in your thoughts, your actions, to do them with positivity. It requires more than just the thought that, you know, the absence of negativity. It requires a constant going after bringing positive things into your life. And it requires you to think about the possibilities, you know, being positive about possibilities, being positive about outcomes, being positive about people. Like that's every day that gets done. Yesterday, I was in the parking lot. Two people are backing at the same time. And one of them was an old lady. And the other one was what I judged as a mean dude, mean white dude. And they're both backing out. Nothing's even happening. He opens his door, gets out of his car, and starts yelling at the old lady about something. And my judgment comes up. Right? That's not in that moment. What is calling is not about what should happen over there. The only thing I need to look at is, in my mind, what did I just judge? I created a scenario and I didn't see beyond actions and words. I looked at the actions and the words and I judged it. And I attacked in my mind. But looking beyond that is the forgiveness that we are all seeking in our own lives. Forgiveness of ourselves for the struggles that we've put ourselves and people through. Forgiveness of ourselves for not being able to see love when love is here. And let me just look at this. The love is the root of all evil. Money is not evil. Yeah, I mean, the love of money. I mean, let's call it the perception of money. Our own is about money. It's the root of not evil, but a root of seeing what is not there. So I'll take a pause here. I just went on for like 20 minutes straight. So I love to get people involved in here. Natalie, go ahead. You're still muted.
You're muted. Sorry. So I will say thank you and good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I really appreciate what you've been sharing. When you said the love of money, what I started to think about, the word that came to me was value. There is, I mean, yeah, some people have a love for money, right? But I'm really saying how are people defining it in the term system? I don't know. That's just something to mind because money is like one of those things that is really important, but not important at the same time. So maybe it's really, and I'm just speaking out loud. Forgive me if I'm.
You're good.
Yeah, it just almost seems like, something that we have to, along with a lot of other things, keep engaging with. It's like a living concept because we need it, right? And at the same time, we cannot find ourselves this money. So I need to live. So I feel like it's like it's just a living thing. It's energy, right? I hear people describe money as energy, right? Something we align with and we, so that we can, so we can use it for what we need to use it for.
So even that though, even as a projection of an idea that you need money to live. Because technically, we don't actually need money to live. There are people in this world that are not living off of money. Okay, there are people existing today that are not living off money. Okay, and there are people that live really well, also not living off money. Right? There are ashrams. There are other things around the world in which people live, Shaolin temples, not off of money, and they're living a very disciplined and a fulfilling life. So even that itself is a projection of an idea that we have. And one sec, I have been feeling angry while driving recently. It's not some idiot driver's fault. Anger does not mean things. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a second, Peter.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
And I'm not pushing back. I'm just really looking to dig deep. So then, we have, like you said, you mentioned, let's say the Shaolin monks, you have bartering systems all over the world, right? There's ways of being that people have where they're engaged in exchange. How would you frame it then? Living in, I'm assuming we're all living in America right now. And we live in a capitalist society where that's the economic system, right? So I think that's where I came from. And I don't have to be right about it. I'm just saying, I think that's where I was coming from with how we value it. Because we absolutely do live in a society is based on capitalism, which requires an underclass to thrive. But maybe that's another subject. But that's why.
Yeah. So you can buy into all of this, right? Here's the thing. The Course says the vision of one world see the vision of the other. There is one world only. The reality with a capital R is that we are not separate. That if we take away the body, the mind is actually all connected. This is why we experience synchronicities all the time. It's not just chance by accident, right? All of us actually being here in this moment in time of all eternity, the 15 of us and the people on Instagram, other lives are here right now, existing in the physical form, having a conversation about A Course in Miracles and money. That is winning the lottery times a million, that chance. So there is never any real accidents, and there's only one world, and there's only one time, which is right now. So that's the capital reality with an R. Everything else in this world that we operate with, cars, house, power, money, anything else that we play around in this world with is part of the game, part of the dream illusion. Now, the recognition is either I have it, or it has me.
That's right.
So it's about breaking free from it. And the only way we can break free from it is to recognize that that's part of a game, part of an illusion, part of a dream. You know, when we go to sleep at night and we dream, like lately I've been dreaming and I know that I'm dreaming. Like there are things happening in the dream and I know I'm dreaming. It's really interesting. But imagine we just didn't know that we were dreaming. Right? Then everything is freaking scary. Things that will show up is scary. So the Course says that's actually happening right now. This whole thing, your whole life, is a glimpse of eternity, and it's a dream. And when you wake up, and this is why when people experience death, when people have death experiences, they go somewhere, and when they come back, they're like, whoa. Everything becomes clear for them because they were somewhere where they didn't, you know, and a lot of death experiences go something like that. Oh, all the family and all the people that they felt like would miss them and all this stuff, it just completely vanished. And it was just a space of bliss and love and full acceptance and returning to this blank canvas. And it was just beautiful. There's no stress about anything. And then they come back. They're like, oh shit. It's all like real again, but they've seen what's on the other side, you know, and it's all very similar. And I don't know how the Course channeled this. Something from one world comes into this because we all already know deep inside. Deep inside, there's a knowing that when we see the truth, when we hear the truth, we are drawn to it. But we have a lot of stories and experiences in our life that tells us, oh, don't trust that. Oh, this money is really important because you went through growing up without a lot of money. You went through growing up, parents, families fighting about money. And all of a sudden we have this idea about money. And everything starts, we look at the rest of the world based off of the image we have, and then we have of the idea of money. And I keep saying idea because everything is an idea. The identity of you is an idea. And the law of expansion is that as you share it or talk about it, ideas grow. And this is what the Course says. From that is the teachings of abundance. When ideas are shared, it is grown. That means anything we try to hold for ourselves, we start to create scarcity around. And what do we do with money? We try to hoard it, we try to hold it, we try to save it. Oh my God, we need it for tomorrow. All these saving techniques have 6 months of savings, right? Like all these things, we have ideas around those things. In order for something to grow, the law of abundance, in order for something to grow, it is required that you share it. Love grows when you share it. When you give somebody love, when you offer somebody forgiveness, in that moment in the parking lot, if I was able to shift my mind and catch myself that I was judging this guy, I could have saw love in that space. But I saw a mean white guy yelling at an old lady and some other stuff in my mind, right? And yeah, it took a little bit for me to recognize, whoa, I'm the one in attack right now. These attack thoughts, as I share it, only grows in my own. Is this the type of experience I want to have in the world? No, it's not. Okay, let me cut that out. It's no different, Peter, than the way that when you drive and you experience anger. When people cut you off. If people cut you off or they drive stupidly, right, according to you, we lose our peace because we choose something else. Because we gave the idea of anger more power. So if we look at love and we look at money, if we make, one of my videos that blew up started with make money more like love. And it's about this concept of the law of expansion, of abundance. Ideas grow as they are shared. That means I got to share it. I look to places where I can do charitable things. I can share my time. I can share my resources. I can share my money. Because it's not about the money itself. It's the recognition of your capacity to have money. Your capacity to love. And we give love and we offer love so that we may recognize how powerful we really are. How much love we can actually hold. And then we take all this concept and how do we match it up to the way that we do money? Can I be more trusting? Can I have more faith? Do I really need, and I'm not saying to do this, okay? So just take this with hear me in what I'm saying right now. You don't need to have 6 months of savings if you have full trust and full faith that things will continue to show up. Opportunities will always open up for you. I've been in times, I've lived through times where I couldn't make ends meet at all. And here I am. You know, like this is a journey that we're going to go on. If we take away the focus from scarcity, then miracles open up for us all the time. One of the Legends members yesterday shared, man, I showed up to the DMV. I had a whole plan for my day. I'm going to go there at 6 a.m, 2 hours before they open. I go in, I go out, I go on with my day. I go make money. I do my stuff. Shows up at the DMV at 6 a.m. 200 people are in line already. Now we can focus on the annoyance of that and just start to attack it nonstop and get frustrated with people behind us, and then somebody driving and somebody yelling at somebody else, and we're just judging and attacking everything, and our experience is shit standing in line. But he was like, okay, I surrender, and I will just do whatever it takes to be here and spend the day here, and I'm cool with it. And he ends up standing in line with somebody that is now offering him a great opportunity for business, is going to invest in a real estate deal, and because they got to stand there for 3 hours connecting and talking. That's the miracle. Those are the things that are miracles happening on the physical platform when we can open our minds up to miracles. When we can look beyond this problem, the situation that's in front of us, that we're positive about possibilities, we're positive about people, we're positive about outcomes, we're injecting positivity. Can we do that in all areas of our lives? In our relationships at home, in our relationships with our coworkers, our family, our friends? Can we do all that? In the presence of anger and annoyance and all and stuff, because they come up. They will come up. But can we, what's our rebound time? Let's call it. Right? Go ahead, Natalie. And Natalia, feel free anytime to jump in with anything that you're thinking.
I have a question around. Yes, I agree. I'm wondering about toxic positivity, what I consider to be toxic positivity, and I frame that in a way of yes to what you're saying, and I feel like moments like that call us forth to practice patience or any other ways of being, right? And I believe in those moments, it's also calling us forth to embrace those pieces of ourselves, not into shame, but to really say, okay, these things are coming up. So it could be an entry point to doing some further work, maybe, digging deep to get to the core of maybe why we're responding that way, but also be able to embrace our whole self, right? Because I'll use ego for an example, right? I can say there's times where if I lead with ego, it doesn't serve me. However, I do appreciate at times because it can alert me when something needs attention, or maybe I'm in danger, or whatever the case is, and then shifting to another thought process, right? So that I can engage with life, right, in flow of all that's required, and not just in a way that framing in a way as if it's all, it is positive, but not in a way that's detaching from doing the hard work and feeling the hard feels.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Sense, I completely get it. So the ego is clever. The ego will create confusion, okay? And it will say, oh, yes, well, but this, okay, yeah. That love thing, it's great. It's awesome. Love, everything's love, it's great. Okay, but here, let's work with this stuff. Okay, let's work with these things because it's important for you to work through it. Now, anytime you heal and work through something, there is one moment. There is only one moment, the holy instant, in which you decide that you no longer value all the darkness anymore. There's only that one moment. All the other stuff you take to get there, to work on yourself, to do this and that, all that journey, it's actually unnecessary. If we look at it on a grand scale, okay, I'm not saying people shouldn't go through it, people shouldn't work through their shadow work and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it is unnecessary. It is a delay. It's like this. There's only light. Okay, we all can agree there is just love, there's light, right? And then we know that our own projections and perceptions get in the way. Now, should we work with those things? This is what the ego does. The ego builds a little house, okay? And it keeps the darkness in. And it's like, okay, well, darkness is real, right? See, darkness is real. But we built the house in the presence of light. We've built a shelter around the light so that we could sit in the darkness. And now, of course, darkness is real. And the ego's like, yes, work around this, work around this. And little bits of light starts coming through. And then we're like, oh, crap, we got to patch it up. All the things that we're patching up is to defend our identity, defend our ideas, defend the stuff that we've been preaching in our experiences, our evidence of why money is challenging and this and that. Yeah, no problem. But when the shelter that you created, when this little thing you created is gone, there's only light. There is no darkness. In the presence of light, darkness doesn't exist. That's why all the things of the ego requires constant defense. It's the little shelter thing that you've created that you have to keep patching up so that light doesn't come in. This is why the Course says truth needs no defense. Anything that the ego creates, anything that you defend against, it's not the truth. See, if we can walk through life with some of these simple understandings, it will make seeing truth and seeing perception much easier. Because we get confused. We have no idea what's the truth sometimes. Because we want to defend something. When you are in defense, you are defending your own evidence and projections. Truth needs no defense because truth just is. In the presence of truth, none of the other stuff exists. So when you feel like you have to fight with somebody and argue with somebody or have, or feel insecure or shameful or guilty about something, those things require defense. That's why we go down the rabbit hole of being in our shit, because we keep defending against it. We keep defending why we're feeling the way we do. When I get into an argument with my wife, instead of just being like, oh, okay, I'd rather be happy and be peaceful and I'd rather not be right, I go into, oh, but she did this. Oh, but if she can only do this. Oh, but if she's only on my ACIM calls, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Right? There's always this defense constantly for why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And no doubt it is always a lash and an attack on somebody else. Because the ego is clever. You are always exempt. You will always be exempt from any wrongdoing. It's always someone else's fault. The ego looks towards blame. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because it's a really powerful way for us to look at things, and back to money a little bit, how the world operates on money. Well, I don't know, there's 1 billion people on this planet that lives on less than $1.25 per day, and then another billion that makes less than $2 a day. Like, how are they living? Are they do they laugh? Do they have joy? Do the kids run around and play? Do they eat? Yeah, somehow they still make it work. And we're over here like complaining about making $1,000. We're complaining about a lot of things. I saw a quote. I don't know who posted it. If you make $450,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the United States. If you make more than $45,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world. We have a delusion, or an illusion about money, because we're in this container, and this container is real. But what about the world container? We're like, no, it's just a Miami container. It's just the United States container, right? And people are poor in this world. There's poverty in this world, not because they aren't abundant or that they don't deserve abundance or whatnot. They're poor because we are not abundant. The world will begin to shift, and it shifts within ourselves. The world will begin to shift when the superpowers of the world believe that lovingness is the only way to be. That we do not accept the reality of deep poverty anymore. That will be the time when everyone in the world starts to, I don't know, make more than $2 a day. And the presence of light is no dog keeper. Yeah, thank you, Peter, for hanging out. Right? So the world isn't experiencing scarcity. We are. You always bring this power back to yourself. Right? We hear the things like, they don't need our love. God does not need our prayers. We do. We need it. Your brother, your sister, your coworker, your friend, your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, does not need your forgiveness. You need it. So when we forgive not just for them, but it's for ourselves and it's for the world. Because as our minds shift into a collective trust, collective abundance, collective love, then the reality of poverty won't exist anymore. We won't walk by the homeless and just be like, oh, let me just block my mind from it. Right? I mean, how many times do we drive by somebody who's holding on to a sign and just don't do anything about it? Don't give two thoughts to it. Like, what are they going through? How do they get there? What can I do to help? Those thoughts don't cross our minds because we conditioned ourselves to separate from that person. And from that space, we actually close off abundance to ourselves. And I heard another great thing this week. The overwhelm, because overwhelm seems to be like a conversation that we have a lot in the most powerful, richest country in the world. Every single person at one point or another, man, I feel overwhelmed. The overwhelm you feel today is the abundance you prayed for yesterday. The pains and the challenges that you're going through today is the love and the forgiveness that you prayed for yesterday. So how do I embrace this moment? Yeah, thank you guys for being here. So anybody want to share and add anything? We have, a little bit more time to, if anybody is dealing with any challenges, people, investments, whatever, if anybody want to share anything, either on live or on Zoom or anywhere. I forgive. Okay. So, what else? Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, I love this conversation about abundance and the thinking that we have any kind of lack, which is just it's in our imagination, because there is abundance all around us. If you've read the abundance book as many times as I have in the past couple of months, you'll know that. And the way that I feel is because of the way that we feel about money and the way as a society, we covet it as if that's like the ultimate, our ultimate goal, our biggest achievement. Because I believe that the reason why we do have hunger and why we'd have areas where people can't even get a clean glass of because of that fear that we've created and that hoarding of everything. Because I believe that there's abundance. Nobody should go to sleep hungry at night. Nobody should not have clean drinking water. It's just us in the way we've coveted these things, in order to profit from them and to be able to, and that fear of not having enough is what's created this tremendous lack in the world, because there is an abundance of everything in this world.
Yeah. And you know what they did a calculation. $100 billion ends world hunger. 100 billion. You know what the debt is in the United States right now? It's like $40 trillion. You know what $1 billion looks like in front of 40 trillion? It looks like a penny to my bank account. That's what it takes to end world hunger. Not as a collective demanded that to be the truth of our society, of our world. We are still okay with deep poverty in the world because our minds are still so focused on just ourselves. Our minds are so focused on that, and yeah, it's we can say it's disgusting. Someone's like, wow, it's disgusting. We can say it's disgusting, but let's look at the way that we do our lives, because it's simply an example or a projection scaled down to the way we accept poverty in our communities, right? How is it that, I was in San Diego. San Diego's like super wealthy, all these crazy wealthy buildings, and a block away, there's a whole street of tents of just the homeless. And half those homeless people served in the military. Like how backwards is the world right now? Like, if you think about it, it's upside down. And in order for us to step into true abundance and fulfillment in our lives, we have to take this world and we have to flip it back onto its feet and recognize the love that is in us and how love works. And then how money is just a version of love. Bringing those two things together, like having trust. So many people out there also are unwilling to be in a relationship, a loving, intimate relationship again, because their hearts were broken once. And that's it. You lose money in an investment once. You've heard of a story of somebody losing money. Reality. That becomes the reality we start to cultivate. And this is why the world allows deep poverty to happen. That's why we allow the homeless to be out there. And each of us individually can look at our lives every time somebody holding up a sign. And how we've disconnected ourselves to our brothers and sisters out there. So to change the world begins with your own mind, with the own way that you do things. Because as you see love and as you see God and faith and trust in your mind, you will see this world already being healed. You will see all the people that are doing everything they could already. But if you block it, you will continue to see scare you. You will continue to be angry with the way people drive and the way people do things. You'll be angry and untrusting. It will hurt your relationships, I promise you. Because that's the law of extension. Where you give attention to, it grows. And we know this. We know this. Where attention goes, money goes, right? Where attention goes, whatever grows. We know this, but we don't really know it. It just sounds really good. We'll use it when it serves us, but we don't believe it only. It's like everybody believes in love, but nobody believes in love only. There's love, but there's also all these other things. That's the ego makes something simple very complicated. In the presence of light, there is no darkness. That's it. The Course in the Bible says, do not try to purify your situation and your thoughts before giving it over to me. Give it over to me and I will purify your thoughts. How silly we are all the time to decide that we will play God and we rely on our own strengths when we have no idea what is even going on around us and we rely on our strength. It's so funny. Right? It's pretty insane when we look at it. I heard something this morning. It was like, I trust God with everything, okay, even with my money. But if it's over $200,000, I will decide what to do with it. It's so funny. If it's over 200,000, I will decide. But everything else, I trust God with. It's not that we are in deep denial of the consequences. We just haven't trained our minds to look at the right outcome, to pray for the right outcome, to trust the right outcome.
I was going to say that for me, it's the lack of trust.
Yeah. It comes down to that.
And I was listening to Marianne Williamson say, it's all about the trust and the faith and the natural intelligence of it all and giving it over to God. And she went ahead and said, it's not like the acorn is trying to figure out, how do I become an oak tree? Or the embryo trying to figure out, so now how do I grow my lungs? It's like trusting in the natural intelligence in God that everything is, it's like trust and surrender to the natural intelligence of things, and that we don't even know.
Yeah, we are literally floating on this river, going in one direction all together, and most of us are just fighting. Regardless of what you do, you can kick and scream and fight and try to swim upstream, but you're going to where the river decides you to go. So faith and trust is to trust that this river is going to take you home. That's faith. And it takes constant practice. Like earlier, faith isn't just a theological principle. It's a mental and emotional that requires us to train every single day, every single moment. Yeah. And we demonstrate, like every attitude, we demonstrate faith. Every thought from moment to moment, we demonstrate faith. Are we focused on, or do we have faith in what's going to go wrong? Or do we have faith in what's going to go right? We tend to go into that fearful place of disaster. It's easier to do. It's less fun, but it's easier. Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, my thoughts is that it's our almost like our duty, our responsibility to those of us that have that little bit of light, that if we're here on this call, that means we have a little bit of knowledge as to what this faith is, and it's our duty to exercise this muscle and to pay it forward. For example, yesterday I have a neighbor that I see him come out every not often. I see him in his scrubs, so I know he works somewhere in the medical field. But he comes out and he'll smoke a cigarette, but I never see anybody coming in or out and him doing anything else and everything. And so yesterday he just came out to smoke a cigarette, and I was outside getting a little bit of sunshine with my dog, and I just decided that I said, oh my God, this guy he just seems like such a lonely soul, and he's only like maybe in his early 40s, but I never see him with anybody at all. So I said, you know what, as uncomfortable as it was, I decided to strike up a conversation with him, even though every time I see him, he smiles, he seems friendly enough, but very, very introverted. And I started talking to him, and it turns out he's a very smart man. And he said, and I said, listen, I said, not for anything. I said, but you seem to be alone a lot, a lot. I mean, what else do you do? And he says, and I said, I see you in your scrubs. You work a lot. And he says he works in psychology. He just said he works in psychology. And he says, I just don't deal with people. And that was like, whoa, that kind of like struck me. He says, yeah. And I imagine that he must have had some rough experiences. Very, like I said, very nice, very personable guy. And he says, I just don't deal with people. He says, I said, well, I imagine in the line of work that you're in, you must probably not see the best of people all the time. And he's like, yeah, I just keep to myself. And I could tell that he really wanted to engage with me, you know, that he's got like a hunger somewhere in him that he wants to, but he's afraid because I guess what he's exposed to all the time, just he's exposed to like the worst. And we ended up having a conversation. We're standing up there for like 45 minutes or so and everything. And I could tell he just was getting so much out of just being able to talk to another human being. I'm like, listen, I said, I'm so glad that I spoke to you. You know, I'm right here, and just know that, you know, that there's a lot of good people out there. I mean, you're an amazing guy. You have so much to offer the world, and just don't be afraid of just putting yourself out there. And because I always give people the example that the heart has only got one door, one way in and one way out. And as soon as you put that fence up or put a door up to try to stop the bad from coming in, want to get hurt because you know that there's so many people out there not doing good, you close yourself off to love. I'm like, to love and all the yummy, juicy stuff and everything. And I think that to the end, he didn't even want to leave him because he was on his way down the stairs, but he stopped mid-landing because I engaged him, and we were there for like 45 minutes. And I could tell that he didn't want to stop talking because he probably hasn't had anybody speak faith to him and speak like this to him in a long time. And I'm like, listen, I said, you're my neighbor. And I told him, I said, because I started off telling him, did you hear like some crazy sounds coming out of my condo over the weekend? Because I wanted to apologize. I did that Tony Robbins, and I was screaming and carrying on and everything. You know, the whole time I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder if my neighbor could hear me and everything. He's like, no, I didn't hear anything at all. So that's the way I started engaging him. But we ended up like 45 minutes later talking about so many things. I'm like, listen, I'm right next door. I said, whenever you see me here, I said, don't be afraid to knock on my door to talk to me and everything. I said, and just know that, you know, that there's lots of yummy, great stuff out there and everything. And don't get shaded just by what you're exposed to, you know, because I'm sure he's exposed to, you know, a lot of people that are going through a lot of stuff. I'm like, and if not, I said, and if you see me over here, I said, don't bother, knock on the door. I'd be more than happy to talk and engage with you. And I could just see when he walked away, he was in a different state. He was in a different state. And I hope that I just planted that seed in him that maybe he will try to, you know, come out a little bit. We can all do that. That's all our responsibilities, you know. We can't change the world, maybe we can, but one person at a time, one neighbor at a time, reaching out to whatever's in your space, whoever shows up in your space that can use that faith, because not only do we lift others up, we lift ourselves up, you know, and we cement our own faith, you know, because the more that I speak it, the more I believe it, not just for them, but for me. And we both walked out of there feeling like good. And, you know, it was good. I was like, man, he was my neighbor now for almost a year and haven't engaged with him. And so, you know, my invitation to you is just all we can do is whatever we can do with what's in our space, you know, our community. Peace starts with us, inside of us first, and then we spread it to people around us, our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors and stuff. And if all of us do that, you know, that butterfly effect, that's the way we achieve peace in the world, by us getting peace inside of us and then spreading it to those around us.
Yeah. And, you know, we often think that making an impact has to be something on a, you know, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa level, right? That's making an impact. And we, or Grant Cardone, like, we compare ourselves all the time, but making an impact can simply just by being, you know, smiling at somebody, saying hi to your neighbor, you know, those acknowledgments, because they open up a space for connection, which opens up the space for miracles, right? And all miracles are maximum extensions of love. So you will have no idea of how much that conversation would impact him and then impact his clients, and how far that ripple goes. But the idea of impact for us is to think about the ripple effect in which it would go. Like, become conscious about everything that I do creates a ripple. And can I be conscious about how far it goes? Like, we won't ever know how far it goes and how far in time it will go. But we can bring awareness and consciousness to the possibility of it. And that's going to bring a lot of faith and help us continue to talk to the next person that we see that we feel called to do. We block ourselves from doing what we know is right all the time. All the time. We make up some excuse and we're bought into it. I don't got enough time. Oh, this person's asking for money. He's going to go buy drugs. Like, we dismiss people so it's not even funny. And we as a collective, and the collective shifts with you. That's it. Because there is no others out there. It's just you and you. If we take away all the bodies, the minds, it's just one mind. Right. So cool. A lot of people have joined us on IG, and a lot of friends have been on here, and good conversation so far. So anybody else want to, and EJ, welcome, brother. Any other thoughts? Anybody want to share anything that's happened this week, or any miracles, any challenges too? If you have any challenges, for sure, just put it out there. Let me see what's been written on here. Life's lonely, especially parenthood. Remember, that is an idea. We have to become aware of the words and the thoughts that come. Parenthood is lonely is an idea. It's not the truth. Remember, we said earlier, truth needs no defense. Parenthood is lonely is going to require a lot of defense. Right? You're going to have to come up with all the reasons why it's not. And then somebody's going to tell you all the reasons that it is. And you just go back and forth. Neither of those are the truth. Because parenthood is not lonely is also not the truth. Love tells me I'm everything. Wisdom tells me I'm nothing. Between the two banks I flow. So then what is the truth? The truth is the river is going this way, and you're going no matter what. Okay, that's the truth. The truth is we're all going that way, and you can kick and scream, and you can argue about this and argue about that, and you can collect a whole bunch of stuff on the way down the river. And you got to hold on to everything. All these sticks and rocks and relationships and money and houses and cars. You can collect all these things on your downstream, right? On your flowing, and then you lose something, and then you lose your mind. Like something falls, like the car falls, or the relationship falls, or this falls. You can't hold on to it anymore. And then you get heartbroken, right? Because you've lost something. Grab onto all those things in the first place. Grab it, play with it, let it go. That's the truth. The truth is that we're all going to be okay. We're all going home. And then the practice of seeing truth, look with your spiritual sight, to look beyond problems, to look beyond actions, to look beyond words. Right? I was talking earlier about the old guy yelling, the guy yelling at the old lady. An older version of me, a more angrier version of me, might have gotten up and actually even said something and gotten involved in this conflict. So would that help? What does that even do? That just promotes and creates more conflict, more war. And so Yeah, it's just it's the thoughts itself. And this is why the Course says, at the highest level of your consciousness, you need do nothing. The way will show you the way. The river will take you where it's going. And just do it with peace and ease. Knowing that all of this stuff that you end up collecting on your way down, you can let them go. I should restate, my parenting sometimes feels lonely if you're not in control. Yeah, I mean, that's an experience. So great, right? It's a recognition of the things that come out of our mouth. I can say my experience and my perception is this, which now makes you realize, oh, it's not the truth. That means it doesn't have a hold on me like the way I think truth would have a hold. Right? Money is hard to make. If that comes out of my mouth, I start to the law of expansion. If that comes out of my mouth, that ideas begins to grow in our mind, in my mind. But if I'm like, up to this point in my life, it's been hard for me to make money. Great. You've separated the two things. One is a statement of like truth. The other one is a recognition that you've had a certain experience, which is not the truth. And now you can choose. The awareness that it wasn't the truth gives you an opportunity to choose something else. And then you choose that. And then you see if you have fun with it or not. Like how fun, joy, and laughter. Okay, those are the fun, joy, and laughter are the identifications or the guiding principles or the guiding light to know that you are with God. When we are heartbroken and we when we go through the deepest traumatic pains, when we laugh about it is when we have healed or begin to heal from it. I think my friends have a thing. Their moms passed away, so they have a laughing dead mom club now, they call it, or something like that, because they're looking to make it to heal from it. Right? Like the joke, the dead mom club. When you can start laughing and joking about something that you thought was so serious, you're going to start healing from it. And we get to look at money the same way. It's an idea that grows as we share it. I was on a call on Sunday. It was the Freedom Chasers calls on Sundays. And I talked about what's going on in the real estate market today. So many gurus and so many big people, including Grant, talks about like, we're looking to club somebody. Like really take advantage of somebody else's misfortunes. And this is why we're holding off. We're holding our money. We're hoarding it as a big stick. So when somebody is really in trouble, we can smack them with it and take the property. And that's not my philosophy at all. Like my philosophy is like, okay, well, there's a great deal here. I want to create a win-win. I'll do what I can to create a win-win. And the energetics behind it is going to take care of the deal, and it's going to take care of me. It's going to take care of the investors and take care of everybody. Because we can't predict the market. So many things happen that's outside of our control. So just don't try to control any of it. Give it all over. Give it over to the way that love will handle things. And allow love to reflect back to the project. So that's just a little bit of my own philosophy of how I look at everything. People are like, well, what books are you reading about multi and real estate and all that stuff? I'm like, The Law of Divine Compensation by Marianne Williamson. I'm like, yep, that's the book I'm reading about multifamily. Because it's all the same. It's all the same. Everything is just a different form of the same thing. Can we become more connected to our hearts, to who we really are? Can we become more connected to our brothers and our sisters? You know, can we next time not pass by somebody holding up a help me sign and just ignore it? Anyways, so what else? Let's see. So is the 3-7 on conversations with God? Is that what you're about to say right here? Let me see. Chat. Yeah, there it is. By Mr. Walsh. And all of this stuff that I'm talking about really comes from my deepness of A Course in Miracles. You know, that's why this call is very heavily based on A Course in Miracles and my own spiritual practice. It's my north. Doesn't matter what's going on in the market. Doesn't matter what somebody says to me. You know, I'm very sovereign in the way that I operate. I care about relationships above all else. Okay, Marlene. Hello.
Hello, hello, Alex. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to share right now, as you were speaking, Alex, that I don't know, it's like a realization that somehow, since I can remember, I really manifested a leader, like yourself, in not just in business, but in my life. And I come from a very dominated world. So just the fact that you are a guy in with all these concepts, and as you said, your north, and being what it is, it's just so amazing to me. And by the way, sorry about the background noise. It's spring breaking this week. But I just wanted to say it feels like utopia, So thank you. Thank you for keep sharing without reserving anything.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and sharing and trusting for this past weekend and all the stuff. You're amazing. News for the ACIM world and all my live people out. Next week, and starting next week, once a week on Wednesdays, I will. Is it Wednesday? Maybe I should do Wednesday. Maybe I should do Sunday. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. On Sundays, I'm gonna go on like 8-hour marathon of this call. I'm just gonna go and do it for 8 hours and turn this into like a freaking radio show. Anybody that hops on, we will talk. On the top of the hour, we will read a paragraph or 2 paragraphs in the course, and then we just go. Sunday ACIM marathons. We've taken like a year and a half to get through like 13 chapters of the course. So we're gonna get back into it, and we're gonna get intentional and maybe finish the course by the end of the year. 31 chapters. And then we're again the following year. So yeah, we got about another 9 this call. And if anybody wants to share anything else, feel free to do so while I start to pull up a lesson in the course. CIM. I don't have my book here, so we'll need the help of the Googles. All right. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Anyone going through any challenges, having aha moments on this call? Okay, first lesson.
No, just wanted to thank you for this morning. That's what I needed.
It's just what I needed.
I want to share, I want to share and at the same time, my experience, right? Because it's the one thing that I still deal with every day. And that's what you say about the comparison, right? There's something is being brought to my attention, something that I notice. It triggers me when my mother does the same thing. And this is the comparison. As you mentioned before, comparing like what do you do daily when Jessica was sharing.
You're getting cut out. We don't hear you, Claudia. So your daughter, the people that are closest to us, that we love the most, are oftentimes our greatest teachers. Most likely. They're what the course calls level 3 teachers. They'll be in your life forever, providing you unlimited amount of lessons. That you will constantly have these lessons. Oh, hey.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. You're back. We're back.
We're back. Okay, so were you listening to me? Like the audio was fine? Oh, no. Okay. So what happened is the comparison, what happened with my children to other children, my brother's children, to my children, or my mother's does the comparison from, all her kids to her kids, or, what others do out there, like you were saying about like Cardone, or Jessica was doing with her neighbor. It's like this type of comparison. And for me, like in my experience, I come from ego. So, and I just want to, make it like a little more. And if you have any process that it helps to support the being mindful or being conscious with not comparing yourself or others with others, or yourself with others, or myself with others. You get to say.
Yeah, it's what you focus on. Like, for example, in the last year, I have done a lot. I have come a long way. I've impacted a lot of people's lives. I've, created a really great following, loyal following, and created a mastermind, Legends. And still, sometimes I go into, well, somebody else is doing it bigger. And I compare myself to Grant or to Rod or to Robert, and I compare myself to them, when a year ago, I wouldn't even have thought about comparing myself to them. And if we focus on that, right, again, now we go back to the law of expansion and abundance, is you give energy to the idea and it will grow. You compare and that idea will continue to grow. But you can interrupt yourself, and this is the part you want to interrupt yourself. Yes, Jeff, we got to do a live soon. You bring your energy back to the things that you're grateful for, that you're already doing, right? Giving yourself some great affirmations, and give yourself, credit for all the great things you've accomplished. you focus on that, see, this is the faith that I was talking about. You can have faith in in all the negative stuff, or you can have faith in the positive things. The positive things requires you not to decide. It has to be beyond the absence of negativity. You have to actively bring positive thoughts, positive actions to a space. You have to have positivity about possibilities, positivity about yourself, positivity about what you've created. And through that, like, I mean, through gratitude, we can get there. But you got to focus on that. This is why a lot of people say they wake up in the morning and their practice is to start their day with gratitude. It's a training of your mind. Faith is an emotional and a mental practice, muscle that you got to practice. And when you are really in it, like when you can't shift, just give it over to the Holy Spirit and say, I don't know what it's all for, you know, and here you go. You humble yourself in those moments by saying, you know, great creator, God, Holy Spirit, like, you know the purpose of all this. I really don't. You know why I'm where I am. And yeah, it comes down to the you need do nothing. Right? It's just what are you going to focus your attention on right now? And then right now. And then right now. Right? Like, you're going to just, every moment is a practice. It's a moment for you to be like, okay, am I focusing on all the scarce things? Am I focused on separation? Am I focused on all my fears? Right? Because that tends to happen when, hey, welcome. I love that I have a bunch of international people come on my lives. Yeah, where do you focus your attention to? And then being very gentle and patient with yourself is another one. I would say, like, because we do, like, here I go again. I'm doing it again. I'm making it bad and wrong. It's not about bad and wrong. You don't know the difference between bad and wrong. You don't. Because you are incapable of judging it. Because the bad ends up being the good, and the good ends up being the bad, and we're all confused anyways. So just give it all over to Spirit. I know it's all going to be good. I know what I'm going through is temporary. And please give me the strength. Remind me, okay, don't give me. Remind me the strength of looking at this differently. That's it. Let me look at this. May I look upon this scenario, this situation, everything differently. I don't know how to do it on my own. Here. Remind me. And then, no, I do not speak Portuguese. You can teach me. Yeah, it's a reminder constantly, right?
I'd like to add something. What supports me in the looking at this differently, when I catch myself comparing myself to another person, it's like I feel like it's a subtle shift from comparison to inspiration. It's like, as opposed to looking and comparing myself to that person that way and look at it lighter, like they're doing this and I'm not. It's like, I think it's a subtle shift to inspiration. And also, when I recognize something in another and I find myself comparing, when I look at it differently, what I do is, oh wow, what I'm recognizing in that other person, I also see within myself. So that really supports me.
Yeah, it's like a mirror. And here's one thing that I do, and you can do this too, Claudia, is think about somebody's life that you've touched, okay, that you've impacted in such a way it's drastically shaken their life. So you can do that with me. Like you've made a huge impact in my life on our journey, in all of our journeys. And when you focus on that, you can now say, all right, I don't need to compare myself to anybody else. I was able to do something like this. I think about, deep, profound conversations I've had with people and how I was a part of an awakening moment. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was a great moment. And I start focusing on that. And that's going to expand into other things. But if we focus on not good enough, comparing to something else, then that's going to spin you off into more ego thoughts. Right? It's like, how can I look beyond it? How can I just shift my mind? Okay, I will do some things in Portuguese. Yes, go ahead.
That's that Natalia had the answer, like what I was looking for, because that's what I've been being inspired by the other ones instead of comparing myself to the other ones. Yeah. Like when I do inspire others or when they inspire me. And that's mainly the, like what I have found my peace is in the inspiration. Yeah. And actually I have dear couple that, I have them in I call the chat that we have between my husband and them two, I call inspiration. And you heard me this weekend, being inspired by everybody's gift that it was around us. So because I do see the uniqueness of the ones that, have the particular way to do things. And I feel so inspired and I go and do it. Yeah. And it works, Yeah. So.
Okay, so we've
thank you.
Thank you. And we've come towards the end of this call. I want to leave us off with one thing. And since we're talking about inspirations and stuff like that, and gifts, like, what's that saying? Like our something is the gift and our purpose is to give it away. Whatever the saying is. Find your gifts, okay? And the way that you find your gifts is through what we call your ministry. Your ministry is things that you love, things that fulfill you, things that you're passionate about, things that that you can lose yourself in doing. Like time passes really fast while you're doing it. You find your gifts in there. And then it's about finding yourself the opportunities to share those gifts, is to give it. Let this grow, okay, blossom in your mind. Let it blossom in your community. And that may look like, let me share my gifts in, I don't know, at this real estate conference. Let me share my gifts on this call. Let me share my gifts to my neighbor, right? It doesn't have to be a whole lot of people. Yeah. 99 units. Yeah, we can talk about that, brother. Yeah, so okay. Let me close this out with a final lesson of the day. And may love prevail. And love prevail amongst all of us, and may we all shine our light. Lesson 285, my holiness shines bright and clear today. Today I wake with joy, expecting but the happy things of God to come to me. I ask for them to come and realize my invitation will be answered by the thoughts to which it has been sent by me. And I will ask for only joyous things the instant I accept my holiness. For what would be the use of pain to me? What purpose will my suffering fulfill? And how would grief and loss avail me if insanity departs from me today, and I accept my holiness instead? Father, my holiness is yours. Let me rejoice in it, and through forgiveness be restored to sanity. Your Son, capital S, your one Son, is still as you created him. My holiness is part of me and also part of you. And what can alter holiness itself? My holiness shines bright and clear today. Amen. Aho. Hayaya. Thank you, everybody, for being here and sharing these moments today. We'll see you on Sunday. Actually, wait, I will not see you on Sunday because I'll be in a conference.